Poutine is close and dear to my heart.
I feel like this was just a surprise for you. Surprise!
Surprise poutine! Hello, everyone, and welcome to your Daily Detroit for Thursday, March 30th, 2023. We are your all-local podcast sharing what to know and where to go in Metro Detroit. And man, do we have a lot for you and a super full show, full studio, all kinds of things. Anyway, I am Jer Stays. Also joining us will be engineer Randy Walker and
Shianne Osserini.
Good to see you.
It's great to see you too.
It has been a minute.
It has been a minute. I've been very busy.
So I got this text from you, and somehow, what were you doing in Toledo?
I did. I took my child to Toledo to go to Waffle House because I was craving Waffle House.
Was there an airborne chair?
No, luckily there was not. They were all very nice, and our waiter, his name was Dylan. He was very kind.
I'm assuming that's not your number one pick, though.
No, my number one pick is there's going to be a pie sci in Oak Park.
I'm sure you're very excited about this.
I am. It's literally down the street from me.
You know, if people aren't familiar, Pie Sci is a pretty creative joint. Randy, how would you explain Pie Sci to people?
Pie Sci is experimental pizza toppings.
Okay.
So you get combinations of things that you would never think you would put on a pizza.
There's stuff that's kind of standard, and then there's stuff that really expands your mind a bit. Like, more standard, you know, there's been like a barbecue pizza before, but the notorious PIG, which is like red sauce, mozzarella, pepperoni, ham, pulled pork, bacon, and barbecue. That feels more traditional. But then you go to the freaks and geeks and do like garlic oil, mozzarella, pickled beets, red onion, feta, romaine lettuce on a pizza. Like, I would never, ever put romaine lettuce on a pizza, but obviously they do it and people like it.
Or they have the Mac to the Future, which is basically Big Mac toppings on a pizza.
Or the Weird Al Pastor. You know, cilantro and lime on a pizza. So I feel like it's kind of the weird hippie friend of Detroit style pizza.
I could see that. We have a lot of pizza in Ferndale and Oak Park, but I think that Pie Sci will bring something new.
And so whereabouts is it actually in Oak Park? Because Oak Park's not small.
No, it is on 9 Mile and Forest, right there on the corner.
So that's the east side by Ferndale?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's East Oak Park.
And when do they say that they're going to be opening?
They are hoping to be open this fall. She said that they are aiming for Labor Day, but this fall.
All right. All right. Where have you been, Randy?
I went to brunch at Liberty Bar and Poutinery in downtown Pontiac.
You didn't tell me it was a poutinery in the notes. What is this, a poutinery?
Yeah, the main portion of their food menu is poutine. And
Sir,
you can get
he
it.
didn't tell me. He didn't even tell me. So, listeners, just so you know, my dad was born in Montreal. Poutine is close and dear to my heart.
I feel like this was just a surprise for you. Surprise!
Surprise poutine. Liberty, I've been freed.
So you can get poutine with traditional French fries. You can get it with tater tots or sweet potato fries. I think they also do waffle fries, but they do the basic, which is just your fries, curds, and gravy. But then they also do more.
And that's the name, right?
That's the name, yes.
You're not just like being like, hey,
No.
this is a basic.
It's called the basic on the menu there.
All right.
But then there are more
Who knew we would earn our explicit tag based on a poutine?
exotic poutine options there. For example, I had the Chelsea morning brunch, so I had it over tater tots, and it was topped with sausage gravy, cheese curds, and a fried egg on top.
Oh, wow. Okay, real quick around the table. Tater tots, waffle fries, or fries? Cheyenne.
I'm not a big poutine fan, but I'll say fries.
The tots were good, but I think I am a stickler for the traditional fries.
If I'm by myself, I want tots. If I'm out somewhere else, like the waffle fry is great to hold toppings, and the regular fry, though, is what poutine's supposed to have. Anyway, continue.
And then they also have almost bottomless mimosas. You pay a little up front and then pay less for each of your refills.
Is there some point where it like walks down to like 1 cent or something?
No, it's just $10 to get you started, and then each refill is $3. So, you know, you had 10 for, what, under $40?
So is it a topless since it's not bottomless?
No, it's not that kind of place usually.
So where is this in downtown Pontiac?
This is at 85 North Saginaw Street, right inside the loop that is no more.
Or they're going to try to get rid of or whatever it is? Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. Well, it's good to know. It's good to see a place that people like going to in Pontiac. I think that there was like a lot of buzz when like Slows had opened and then closed out there and some stuff like that. But Pontiac is a really interesting part of town to visit. And I think it's great to check out different parts of the region.
So, hey, Randy, I saw on your Instagram that you were at Urban Rest with our friends from Ackroyd's.
Ackroyd's did a Irish St. Patrick's Day pop-up there at Urban Rest. You will know Ackroyd's as a Scottish bakery, but they hopped islands.
Usually these things, hopping islands, because usually these things are not one and the same, sir.
Yeah. They hopped islands and went from Scotland to Ireland for St. Patrick's Day. I had some bangers and mash.
So what is a banger?
A banger is just a sausage.
Okay. For the uninitiated, it is also known as a hot beat. It's a banger. Comes with a Drake track.
The mash was actually neeps and tatties.
What?
Neeps and tatties, so turnips and mashed potatoes mashed together.
Okay.
Then I have the corned beef and colcannon, and colcannon is a blend of mashed potatoes and cabbage, or sometimes mashed potatoes and kale.
Okay.
And the corned beef was shredded. It was delicious. I had some of their sautéed mushrooms that they offered as a vegetarian option, and then the meal came with a little mini Irish soda bread loaf.
And so I'm not used to Ackroyd's doing pop-ups and things. Like, aren't they like a more of a place you can order things from?
Yeah, they are a mail delivery bakery, but they did a pop-up at Urban Rest for Burns Night, the Scottish celebration in January, and that sold out fairly quickly. I got in line, I believe, at 6 o'clock. They were supposed to be there from 5 until 9, and they were sold out of most things. So I made sure to get to this pop-up right when they opened at 5 o'clock so I could get a little bit of everything.
Randy's got priorities, and I think they're all in the right places. Is this something you think they're going to be doing more of? Because, I mean, their online business has been something, because they had a retail spot and they closed that, but they found some success with this kind of online thing. They pivoted during the pandemic and it stuck.
Yeah, they've always done the shipping, but now they're focused only on the shipping. You can go pick up there, but you can't go into browse. So if you have an order, you can go pick it up in their parking lot. They'll bring it out to you. But I hope this pop-up trend continues, because it was delicious both times, and it seemed super popular.
So, Jer, where have you been?
I met an old friend, and that old friend is the Detroit Institute of Bagels. So good. So good. Got the variety pack of 6 bagels, got the vegetable schmear, solid as always. And for eating right there, I did the tuna salad sandwich with the rosemary olive oil bagel. Because the salt was sold out, because guess what? You also got to get there pretty early to get your choice. It's actually in the old Ochre Bakery spot at West Warren and Grand River, which, I think a lot of people don't necessarily think of over there, but there is some very cool stuff happening in that area. Also, BART is right across the courtyard, which is crazy.
Yeah, I saw you checking in over there, and I was actually at Children's.
So we're learning that you stalk all of our Instagrams all day long.
No, I just happened to see them because I also have access to our Instagram.
That's true.
But I was at Children's and I saw you check in and I was like, oh, Detroit Institute of Bagels. That sounds so good. And then I checked and I was like, oh, they're already closed. I guess I can't go there today.
But you should. You should go, because there is a great balance there where the actual sandwich is actually good. So many times it's like either the bagel's decent or the filling is decent, but never the two. And this is actually both of them, which is just mind-blowing. And there's not going to be many places in Metro Detroit that you're going to get a bagel this good, because, look, nobody wants, bagels are a high bar.
Okay, I'm having flashbacks to a couple weeks ago when I got a bagel sandwich from an unnamed place, but there's 2 siblings, if you will. I'm not going to name them, but it is a national chain with 2 siblings, and it was horrible. And I was so mad that I called you and I said,
you called me. It was so bad.
And I said,
what went wrong with that bagel?
Everything.
Explain the wrong bagel for our people.
I got a turkey bagel sandwich and they didn't toast the bagel. It was like an older bagel. It was like afternoonish. So it was after lunch, but not like late afternoon. The turkey was questionable.
No one likes a questionable turkey.
No, there wasn't enough schmear on it.
Or fuzzy cheese.
Or fuzzy cheese.
Because Randy got fuzzy cheese the other day.
Oof.
let's not talk about fuzzy cheese.
No.
But it was so bad that I had to go to New York Bagel in Ferndale and just get a new bagel with schmear because I just needed a redo that day.
Yeah, this filling was actually really good. The tuna salad was great. They mix like the red onion and things into it, just if that's your vibe. And it really holds its own. One of the things that's great about it is that it doesn't like melt out with the warm bagel. There's so many places that if they do something like a sandwich or whatever, it ends up losing its consistency. This actually stayed together. It was really nice to have like a little bit of the cooling of the tuna salad and then like the oomph of the bagel.
Yeah.
The bagels afterward were still good. The schmear was great. Like, there's everything that you're going to want with DIB. And I am so glad that they are back.
I can't wait to go back.
Someday we'll make it on by. Other days we only can try. Either way, no matter what people say. Either way, we're gonna get something.
Joining me to talk about an exciting signing for Detroit City FC, the doorstep of the Detroit Tigers season, and a little bit extra thing I wanted to bring up. Fletcher Sharp, it is always good to talk to you, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again.
Oh, of course, of course. Now, this first thing, before we get into the Detroit City stuff, I want to talk a little bit about the Lions. I know that you listen to the show too, even when you're not on, and Devin O'Reilly talked about the possibility of the Detroit Lions moving their headquarters from Allen Park. Because if people don't know, yes, they play at Ford Field, but their business operations, their training facility, whatever, that is in Allen Park / Dearborn. You can listen to this show yesterday in case you missed it about the nuances with all of that. Anyway, here's the thing, Fletcher, I want to bring up with you. I was stunned. We did all this coverage of District Detroit, and a lot of people do listen. We're interested. But when it comes to feedback, like this morning, 5-to-1 ratio, people wanting to talk about the possibility of that Lions headquarters move. Like the District Detroit story, just off the map comparatively. It's all about the Lions headquarters. Why do you think that is? I was kind of stunned this morning going, oh, well, maybe District Detroit's the old news or whatever, but that's really fast. And it felt like there was a lot of like controversy online for it. With this Lions thing, like it's a whole nother level of feedback.
Yeah, people really care about the Lions. Like you could talk about they have like new synthetic #1 blue fingers, and people would care more about that than a lot of things. Just because, when the Lions are bad, people pay attention. But when the Lions have a chance to be good, everyone pays attention. When the rest of the NFL is talking about the Lions could potentially be a good team, they might win the division, potentially, they have a chance to. The Lions start signing free agents that like you didn't think were possible a few years ago. Yeah, there's a chance that they're going to dwarf any type of coverage. Heck, when Jamal Williams left, people were sad because he's a very great character. But in terms of on-field production, they got another player in David Montgomery who they're like, okay, well, we're losing the heart of the team, but like we're getting a guy who also has comparable stats and can do a bit more. Lions fans start thinking with, more of their brain than their heart. They're going to want to listen to everything about the Lions, even if it's just Allen Park moving. But I also know that Allen Park facility is like an institution. So it going anywhere, like everyone's going to pay attention because they definitely want that by them if possible. Because it's a good way to see the stars of tomorrow if you can't afford to get to Ford Field.
Yeah, for me, I look at the Lions and see people getting signed that we didn't think we would. And I see people on the team making cap space. And you go, you know what? Maybe it wasn't the weather all along. Maybe obviously warm weather, it does attract some people, but maybe that whole like, oh, well, we're in cold weather and blah, blah, blah. I think it's just about getting the momentum going.
Cold weather does matter a little bit.
Oh, for sure.
But when you see people making cap space to sign players, that's when you know people have bought in entirely. Like if they thought they were going to be bad, I got a 6-year, $280 million contract. I'm keeping all my money. We're going to be bad for 5 years, whatever. But there's a chance they could be good and they could sign another few great players. People have a bunch of money. Like, you know what? I'll cut back because at the end of the day, most professional athletes want to have a championship before they retire. Yeah, you see people start making budget cuts in their own contracts to allow for more signing space. That's when you know people have really bought in. And fans seeing that know, like, okay, I definitely want to absorb everything possible. Like, if they could take a football and rub it on their skin through osmosis and, like, just get Lions stuff, they definitely would.
For sure, for sure. And we will keep abreast of that Allen Park headquarters story because it mixes two things, sports and development. And, of course, here on Daily Detroit, development is definitely a thing. Let's talk a little Detroit City FC. We've got a couple of matches coming up, but first, a signing from Jamaica. Pretty big deal here, in fact, with a lot of Major League Soccer experience.
Yeah, Oneil Fisher, who I hope is going to wear number 91. He's worn it for most of his career. I hope when he gets to Keyworth, he decides to keep that jersey, because I love just seeing numbers that aren't traditional numbers. Oneil Fisher spent some time in MLS. He's known for winning a championship with Seattle Sounders in 2016. Also spent some time with DC United. Everywhere he's been, the fans have been like, hey, you're getting a good one. He even has players like Bill Hamid, former United keeper, who's now in the championship with Memphis 901, saying, yeah, he's a great player, you're getting a good player. That's like a very good endorsement. Like, I know every player moves from places and gets like, you're getting a good one. But like, you can tell with certain players, they really mean it. He also played for the Jamaican national team known as the Reggae Boys. His last appearance was in 2021. He's a solid right back who can also play on the left. Him playing on the right means they're probably going to move Reese to the left, or maybe move Oneil to the left, but we're not going to see Connor Rutz or Cy Goddard as a wingback, not much anymore, which honestly is okay. I'm okay with that because they're more attacking players. I'd rather attacking players be in attacking positions than makeshift defensive ones, because that's how you'd struggle defensively.
Do you think that this move is going to help shift things up so that there can be a bit more offense? Because the number one thing, at least in my text messages, is, yeah, great, but really defense, yes, we'll make a mistake here and there, but defense isn't our problem. Do you think that shoring this up helps open up more offensive opportunities, or do you think we still have some work to do?
I mean, honestly, while I don't want Connor Rutz as a wingback, I do prefer him on the wing as an attacker because he's more of a wing player. He's been more of a wing player for most of his career. Just Trevor James moved him to the middle because, why not? But he's been a wing forever. Cy Goddard is not. And yes, I think it'll allow him to play more of a central attacking role when he gets on and to be able to create and attack from the middle as opposed to only one side of the field. And plus, Oneil Fisher, while he's not known as a goal scorer, he has scored some goals from the wing. He has gotten some crosses in as well. So that's going to help in their way that they want to run their offense, which really seems to be the old style English, get the ball wide, get the ball up, and cross it into the box, which is winning ball, but also not the most exciting ball sometimes. When it's working, you don't really care. You get goals like against Birmingham last year where Nate cleared it out, it fell, it got crossed into Hopino, who slid it into the net. And it was exciting because it was just, bang, bang, bang play. But when it doesn't work, you get games like the last home game where you're just watching the ball go up the field consistently and then not into the net and then cleared back up the field again and again.
Yeah. So are you overall positive about the signing?
Oh, definitely. It's a guy who has MLS experience, has MLS championship experience, international experience. It's only a 1-year contract, so if he does well, maybe they'll bring him back for another year. But it's a player with experience who can impart some of that to some of the younger players. I know DCFC's roster, looking at the ages, is not necessarily like a young roster, but in terms of professional experience, there are some people who've not been pros for very long. And some of them, their first experience being a pro is with Detroit City. So it's a chance for them to kind of get, someone who has been a professional for most of their career, can impart some of that knowledge, and, just the ones who want to take a step forward, give him some, experience and some knowledge on how to do that properly, and maybe even shine a light on a few people. Because I know not just Detroit fans were excited about Oneil Fisher moving. There were fans from Minnesota United. There were fans from DC United. Fans who were like, former such and such player Oneil Fisher's joining Detroit City. So it makes rounds. So it's all positive for me.
Do you think Trevor is done? We've still got some time, obviously, to make moves and make some deals.
That's the one thing about American soccer that's pretty cool, I guess, is you can kind of sign players whenever. I know in other places there's a transfer time where you can only transfer players between a certain amount of time, and after that players can't come anymore. But American soccer, it's we have trade deadlines, so you can sign people whenever. So I don't think he'll ever really be done until the season's over. But yeah, I think for right now, they're probably good. There are probably a few more players in the mix just to be safe, as they have the smallest roster in the league still.
Oh, so that's still a thing.
It's dwindling. Now they're probably tied with a few people. Maybe they're second smallest. It's not just 17 players anymore. It's not enough to safely scrimmage an 11v11 game.
Gotcha. There are a pair of games coming up this week for Detroit City FC. One regular season, one for the Open Cup Championship. The U.S. Open Cup is always a lot of fun, but let's talk about the regular season first. That is on Saturday against Rio Grande Valley Toros FC. Fletcher, what are we in for?
Rio Grande Valley are a high-press team. They also kind of feature some defensive tactfulness. All three of their games have ended 1-1. Defensively, in all the stats, they kind of are very similar to Detroit, except the difference is they maintain possession, whereas Detroit gives up possession a lot. Rio Grande Valley near the top of possession in the league. Detroit near the very bottom of possession in the league. So kind of expect a little bit what happened last Saturday. I know Trevor James likes to make his adjustments mid-game, so kind of expect Detroit's going to put some pressure up near the end. But yeah, they're a small attacking team up top. All their forwards are under between 5'7" and 5'9", so they're not going to be big hulking guys who are going to want to go up there and try to win the ball with their head in the air. They're going to try to keep the ball on the ground and pass to them, try to find little gaps for them to succeed and go forward. So expect a lot of quick passes from the three up top. Expect the defense to kind of try to hold stout a bit. Two of the cleaner teams playing together, not, in terms of yellow cards, not many, but both are in the top three for red cards. Rio Grande Valley has 2, which puts them number 1. Detroit is tied with a bunch of other people with 1. I expect a pretty clean passing game.
Predictions?
I don't want to, say there's a home field advantage, but it's decently warm in Durham, Texas here versus it being Michigan weather, potentially raining on Saturday. So maybe they might have that going for them when the team from Texas comes up to come play in this climate condition. So yeah, I think Detroit might squeak this one out 2-1, honestly. I know I said before they would tie. I think there's a chance they might break Rio Grande Valley's back. And if they do that early, get a second goal, then Rio Grande Valley has to press, which leaves more holes and more openings. Obviously, this is not El Paso. This is not a team that makes a bunch of mistakes. But professional teams will make mistakes. It's just about capitalizing. What a better way it'd be for Ben Morris to acclimate himself to the team than to score in his debut off of a Rio Grande Valley mistake.
For sure. Then we have Gold Star FC, the first ever meeting and the second game for this fledgling club in Nisa. Interesting stuff happening out of there. It seems like they're trying to build something over there in Livonia.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give them props for that because they look like they're trying to do it the right way. I mean, I know that people made fun of them for fleshing out their entire front office staff before they signed another player. But that lets you know that they really mean it. They have a club in Europe who is a sister club, albeit not in England or Spain or something like that. But the team's one of the winningest teams in that country over there. So they have winning pedigree. It's not just them coming over here and saying, we're going to do what we want to do. We're going to build a club for our children and play. No, it's they actually are building this club to be sustainable, which is good to see. Some of their player choices I kind of question for their roster. I mean, they have a few guys I've played with on the field at the same time, and they really weren't that much better than me. So I question how they're professional at this level, even at Nisa, but good for them.
Or does it mean that you should be playing?
No, I should not. I'm not even going to entertain that thought. I should not, which is why I scratch my head a little bit. But hey, props to them. I'm glad they're there. Their roster made up of many diverse players. They have former DCFC players like Roddy Green. They have players who played in other countries like Moldova. They have players who played in the UPSL, which is another 4th division league in the U.S. They have players who play in the Midwest Premier League, which we've covered before. They have players who've been Nisa All-Stars, and not the derogatory way people meant it for Detroit City, but they stole Chattanooga's keeper, Alec Reddington, who was the number 1 keeper last year in the league, and convinced him to come play for them. Probably wants to play underneath the head coach, Alex Lubiinski, who was a great keeper in his own right. But yeah, they're building some parts. It's just I'm not really sure how it's going to come together. And I know we'll be covering the RGV game with Detroit, but since their first game is a Saturday against Chattanooga, I might be keeping an eye on that as well, just to see how they do. And if they get points against Chattanooga, who is the best team in Nisa, in my opinion, then they should have a pretty decent season. I don't expect Detroit to lose to them Tuesday, just because Detroit's been playing longer. While Nisa is professional, we've also seen how they are very not professional. I don't think Trevor is going to let the team lose to this team that, while they're not trying to be rivals, would not mind if they were called rivals. I don't think he's going to let them come out there and play soft, especially with this bench that's getting a little bit deeper. He can maybe rest a few starters, let some backups play, and then if the game's getting a little bit too tight late, put the starters in and just blow them out of the water.
Mm-hmm. All right, before I let you go, the Tiger season starts in Tampa Bay. I know we're going to talk a bit more about it before the home opener coming up, but if you had a quick takeaway, what is your vibe? I asked Robin Runyon about it. I'm going to ask you, what is your vibe about the Tiger season?
I really hope Javi Baez brings back his WBC form and not his form from last year in spring training. Because, man, watching a guy who costs that much money bat around 221 for the season and then 168 for spring training really doesn't make me feel very good about their chances, especially when you're leaning on him to like not strike out, and he's near the top in the entire league, AL and NL, and striking out. That's very not good for their chances. You can't have your 3-spot, 4-spot, 2-spot batter batting in the 220s, 210s. That's not how you win games. And you can't even platoon him either because like he is your shortstop. So I really hope that whatever issue he had coming to acclimate himself, like he's fixed it so that he doesn't do that anymore, because it's going to be a really rough year if you're depending on a guy who looks like a kid swinging at a piñata with a blindfold on.
Ooh, yeah. Well, I can't argue with you. I want it to be more positive, and I'm hoping for positive shoots. You know, Miggy Cabrera's final season is a thing, and I think a lot of people are going to be very interested in the team for that. All right, Fletcher Sharp, it's so good to talk to you.
Of course, yeah. Thanks for having me on.
After all of that, we are done for today with your Daily Detroit. Of course, feedback, and we've been getting a ton of it. I appreciate it. dailydetroit@gmail.com. If you haven't already, consider becoming a member. Patreon.com/dailydetroit. If it's a one-time thing, it's more your speed. Buymeacoffee.com/dailydetroit. Local media requires local support to survive. I'm Jer Stays, and Shianne, thank you for stopping by.
Absolutely. It's always my pleasure.
With that, remember that you are somebody.
And we'll see you around Detroit.